I'll get started now officially. So hello everyone, welcome to UCTV Alive for Kids and welcome to those that have come back to watch again. As you know, UCTV is on every month as a webinar. The Peter Underwood Centre offers different topics and different speakers that come on to talk about something that they've learned or something that they're working on. And the students that are watching get the chance to ask some questions a bit later on in the show. So if you haven't watched before, once I've introduced our speaker for today and he's been able to give a little bit of a presentation in the form of a video that he's pre-made, I'll open up a Q&A box. Well, actually it's open now, so you can ask questions at any point, but there will be a dedicated 3-minute break for people to send in questions. You can let us know the name of the student watching and asking if you want, and we'll give them a shout out. But also letting you know your camera and mic's disabled. That's to protect your privacy. I'd also really like to acknowledge country. So what Blake, our guest that I'll shortly be welcoming to the screen today, will be talking about is all about really taking notice of your surroundings and really being observant of the things that are in your backyard or that you might walk past on your way to school, or even the foods that you eat before you know, the first thing you do when you get out of bed and go and sit with parents or carers. And that kind of like being aware of your surroundings is something that Palawa people in Tasmania have done for thousands and thousands of years. And so I'd really love to acknowledge the care that they have brought to country, so that we and now I really recognise that they are the traditional owners of this land, and paid my respects to elders past, present and emerging. But I'd really now love to welcome to the screen Blake Nuto. Welcome to the screen, Blake.
Hello.
Hi, Blake. It's so great to have you on here. You are a local children's author. You're also a local teacher. You're in Hobart. And you've written all these amazing books for kids that are sold everywhere around the world, but you are based here in Hobart. Could you tell us a little bit about like how you became a writer and who you are?
Yeah. Well, I'll start with who I am. I'm a teacher. I'm a dad, primarily, and I do get some time to make books, which is nice. Guess I started writing mostly from about year 6. I got really interested in writing because I had a teacher that loved it and just inspired us to write silly poems and funny songs, and we just love that. And I never really stopped writing after that, whether I was playing in rock bands with my friends and writing songs, and then kind of got into the idea of writing books when I had my own kids. So, and I write novels as well in my spare time. So, yeah, just enjoy it. And because I enjoy it, I just keep doing it.
Amazing. And the particular book that we're going to learn a bit more about in this video that we'll play shortly is, yeah, I guess it's about like exploring words in like a really informal, doing poetry in a way that you don't have to sit down and write, but also being really mindful of where you are. Should I go ahead and play that video now for everyone?
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay, great. All right. I will we'll turn off our videos shortly, but I'd really like to thank Flying Eye Books and Blake for letting us share this video with you all. So I'll hit play on this now.
My new book, A Day That's Ours, is about slowing down and noticing the world around us. It's about stealing a day before your kids start to go to school and the pace of life gets even faster. You know, there's so many things in this world that seek to arrest our attention, that seek to demand our time, that we almost forget that this world is a miracle, that you couldn't recreate this place, you couldn't imagine it from scratch. It's just so unreal. And the time we have to spend together is the most precious luxury we could ever have on earth. And sometimes you have to steal that time because nobody's going to say, here you go, just take it. So in this activity, we're going to follow the same course that the parent and child follow together in the book, to make a day that's just yours, no distractions, where no one else will bring demands into your time together, that you can just relish the slow things with each other. Plan to make a special breakfast. Make sure you have enough time to enjoy making it together and to enjoy sharing it together. Sit with each other and describe what you like about it. Describe how it tastes. What you like about how it tastes. It sounds simple, but in our regular mornings, it's so rare that we have the opportunity to do that. And then I want you to check the weather, pack a lunch, and plan a walk together. It might be a simple walk down to the shops, or it might be a walk to your favorite nature space, or like the characters in A Day That's Ours, just a simple walk to the park. Or maybe it's a walk with no particular destination in mind, but it doesn't matter, because the only thing that matters in this activity is that you slow down and notice the world around you. And young children are awesome at this. And often as adults, we're really good at pulling them away from noticing the things around them. But on this walk, the point of it is just to give them the time to do it. Maybe it's a stone, or a bug, or a bird, or a leaf, or a feather that they find. Maybe they're watching the light through the branches in the trees and the shadows that are made on the ground. Whatever it is, just allow it to arrest their attention. And then together, use your senses to describe what you're experiencing. How does it look? How does it sound? How does it smell? How does it feel in your hands, if you can feel it? What's the shape of it like? What's the color of it like? And if you can do that, you're creating poetry with your language. You didn't have to write anything down. If you want to take it a little bit further, you can try to use something called a simile. So, looking at the leaf, for example, look at the shape. How is that shape similar to another shape you've seen? What shape is that shape like? Or look at the colour. Where have you seen that colour before? Or maybe it's the sun, the feeling of the sunlight on your skin. How does that feel? Where have you felt that before? Is it like a hug, or is it like a summer blanket getting wrapped around your shoulders at night? If you can do that, you're stretching your imagination and you're building the world of your poem even further. If you want to take this even further with your child, you could try recording your ideas down on paper and using the language of drawing or writing, record the experiences you've had as something to look back on in the future. And the beautiful thing about this activity is that you're building the practice of mindfulness in your life, and you're taking stock of the world around you. And if you can learn to do that, even just a little bit, it's so good for us. It's so good for us to appreciate the miracles that are in front of us and to recognize how unique and how interesting and how rare the world is. And to share that with each other and to relish that experience together. It's so good for us to do that.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Blake, for sharing that video with us and letting us follow along and learn a little bit more about the book, and for walking us through a bit of an activity that we can do as part of it. So we're also going to leave some time now at the end for people to ask questions about you or about the book or about mindfulness, about anything anyone really would like to ask. Before we jump in there, is there anything that you wanted to say about the book or share with some of the students watching?
Yeah, I guess the idea for the book came about when my kids started going to school, and that change in the amount of time that we would have together. And that's what it was about. It was about cherishing the fact that the time we had together was precious, and also realizing that things change. But yeah, it's really about taking stock of the time you have with the people in your life, family, friends, and yeah, making the most of that, appreciating that for what it is.
Yeah, for sure. As we're getting closer to the summer holidays and maybe some of the Year 6 students watching are going into high school, it's a nice reflection point as well to think a bit about, yeah, the things around you and the people around you, and yeah, reflect on the things that you're really happy about in your life. But what I'll do now is I'm going to play that 3-minute break screen. The students that are watching in the classes, please let your teachers know what questions you have. They'll type them out and they'll put them into the Q&A box, and then we'll come back and Blake will answer them live. So send through any types of questions, don't be shy, and let us know the student's name, and we'll give them a shout out. So I'm going to start that video now. See you guys soon. Thanks everyone for sitting through that 3-minute break and sending in so many great questions. I had a quick look through them. I want to try to get through all of them. So some of them are similar, we'll group them. But Blake, are you ready to sort of answer some questions, these great questions from students? Yep, awesome. Okay, so a few people asked about what was the first book that you wrote? So Hugo from Taruna Primary asked that, and also Ivy from Taruna Primary. What was the first book that you published?
Okay, so yeah, difference between the first book I wrote and the first book I published. I think the first book I wrote was with my brother when I was about 8 years old, called The Headless Chicken, and unfortunately did not get published. But the first book that did get published was probably about 20 years after that. So there were a lot of books that I experimented with before I got one published. And the one that did get published was called Child of Galaxies. And that was with Flying Eye Books as well. And yeah, that one was about what it means to be in the world. And it was kind of a letter to my children, that one. So yeah, it was really exciting when I got an email from Flying Eye Books to say that that would become a book published in the UK and the US. So yeah.
That would have been so exciting. And please let us know as well in the Q&A if you've read any of Blake's books, or if you've seen it at your school library or at one of the libraries around Tasmania. That would be really interesting to know. We've got a couple more questions from students at Taruna Primary. So Anya and Elliot and Callum all ask, how many books have you written?
Okay. Yeah. So I've had 3 books published so far. Yeah, all of those are available around Hobart, but how many books I've written, well, I'm not sure. I have a Word document that I work in, and it must be up to about 60 or more so far. And it's just, yeah, a lot of experimenting with different ideas and different stories. I've written 2 novels, which I haven't finished and published yet, but yeah, there's been hundreds, maybe thousands of hours of work writing things, and much of that doesn't get seen. But it's just that practice of writing to try to get better and better. And even though I've had 3 books published now, I feel like I still have a lot of room to grow and improve with my writing. And there's writers that I read that just blow me away, and I want to be more like them. So there's probably another 10,000 hours of practice maybe before I create the thing that I'm hoping to create one day. But yeah, always writing lots of books, but there are 3 out there in the world at the moment.
Amazing. And Annabelle from Holy Rosary Catholic School in Claremont also had asked a question about how many books you've written. So thanks for that as well, Annabelle. One of the students at Lindisfarne North Primary, Theo, is asking for tips about writing poetry about nature and other things.
Oh, great. Well, there is a really cool competition every year through the Red Room Poetry Company. I don't know if you entered that one this year, called the Poem Forest competition, and that one's really worth entering each year because they plant a tree every time you submit a nature poem for that competition. But the best way to engage with nature poetry, and where I write most of my poems and ideas, is actually in nature. So where you saw me walking with my children in the video is really where I end up writing a lot of my poems. I'm often there with my golden retriever, who's by my feet down here. She's asleep, so I won't wake her up. But yeah, a lot of my poems are written with my golden retriever by the rivulet in the bush near where I live. And I just do much like what I said in the video. I pay attention to what's around me and often write what I see, and then new thoughts come through that. I get ideas about maybe how I'm feeling, and find things that I want to say in writing and share with other people. So there's never really know what I'm going to write until I start writing it. It's just the practice of writing it and seeing what becomes of it. And once again, most of the things I write, I don't end up showing other people. But, you know, 1 in every 30 things I write, I might show somebody, because I think there's something particular about that I like, or would be helpful for other people. So yeah, just building that practice into your life of constantly writing. And if you want to write about nature, go and be in nature and engage with it.
Yeah, great. I'll look up the Red Room Poetry Competition, and we've got you and Flying Eye Books have put together an activity sheet to share with the schools watching today, which just outlines the things that you talked about in the video, so that if people want to go and do it, next week at school or over the weekend at home, they can do that. So I'll send that activity sheet through along with the link to the competition.
Yeah.
But the next question, and we've still got quite a few to get through. So do you want to do these last few as like more of a rapid round?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, so Ethan from Sharuna Primary asked, what is your favorite picture book apart from your own?
My favorite picture book is Do Is Tuck by Carson Ellis. If you haven't seen it, go get a copy from the library. It's about little insects that speak insect language, and it's very cool.
What was it called?
Do Is Tuck.
Do Is Tuck.
Yeah, which is not English or any language. It's just a made-up insect language. So yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Great. So Laurie from Taruna Primary has also asked how long it takes you to write a book.
Yeah.
And Seb from Lindisfarne North has asked a very similar question.
Honestly, it might take me about 15 minutes to write a picture book the first time I write it. But as I said, there's probably heaps more that I wrote before that to just get good at it. That being said, the editing process, if something gets picked up by a publisher, might take months of emails back and forth, tidying just little words up, different lines, or maybe changing the entire thing with the same idea in mind. So often they happen really quickly. Like my book, When You're a Boy, I wrote basically what it is. I wrote that on the bus coming home from work. But yeah, there was editing after that. And it's kind of hard to say how long it took to write. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of how long is a piece of string? Yeah. Yeah. Lincoln from Lindisfarne North Primary asks, what were some of your feelings and emotions when you were writing the book?
A Day That Sucks?
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually was feeling the exact feeling that the characters are feeling because my son was starting school. And so it was actually the easiest thing to write at that point in time because it was exactly how I was feeling in my life. So I just felt like things were changing and I felt a little bit sad, like feeling of grief that a time in our lives was changing, that we wouldn't get back. And then a feeling of excitement and hope for him as well, that he was growing up and would get to go to school and learn and gain independence. So it was a mix of emotions, which is exactly, when you read that book, it's exactly what the book's about. And I think, yeah, tip for writing, write exactly what you're experiencing and feeling, and it will feel like the most honest, genuine thing to write and it will be the easiest thing to write because it's exactly what you're feeling and experiencing.
Yeah, for sure. There's a really interesting question here from Layla, again from Lindisfarne North Primary, about what are some of the best experiences you have had as a parent?
Great question. I think watching my kids get born was probably one of the greatest experiences. Can't be explained to meet your child for the first time. But yeah, recently we just did a big trip and saw wild elephants and wild orangutans and kind of just getting out there in nature and into the wild and seeing amazing wild creatures together has been something recently that was really amazing, but also just days spent hiking or just hanging out at the beach are some of the best times when we don't do much at all.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, there's so many good questions left. Quickly, Lauren from Lindisfarne North Primary asks, were the characters in your book you and your child?
Good question. So I'm an illustrator, but I didn't illustrate that one. An illustrator from Bulgaria illustrated it. And I'm pretty sure she based the child character off my youngest child because she looks a lot like her. And she did ask for some family photos before she started illustrating it. But I think the dad character is based on her brother and she spoke about that with me because he had just had a child as well at the time. So she kind of blended both her world and my world together in the book.
Yeah. Wow. There's too many left, but we might end on one from a student from Holy Rosary Catholic School in Claremont because I haven't read out too many of them. Travis asks, what made you want to start writing books?
Yeah, I think I'm a teacher. I'm a primary school teacher, so I read them all the time. And then I was reading them all the time with my kids. And I just think they're a really cool thing. And I love that it's something you can pick up and spend 15, 20 minutes with and just give your whole attention to and experience amazing art and amazing writing that someone's put 1,000 hours into creating and you get to experience it in 15 minutes. And yeah, I mean, they're not all great quality, but I love the ones that are. And I just felt inspired by reading other really cool books and just wanted to make the same thing. And I thought maybe I could.
Fantastic. That's so amazing, Blake. Thank you so much for chatting. I wish we had a bit more time, but we've just gone past 2:30. I'd really, really love to thank the students watching as well for sending in so many great questions, and the teachers too for registering. And I want to say goodbye to you, Blake, but I also have a quick poll for the schools watching if they don't mind doing it. It's only 4 questions. It's just an unofficial poll through Zoom to find out like why you watch UCTV as we're starting to plan for next year. So if you don't mind holding on the line just to answer those, you can even ask the students in your class and do a show of hands or something. But thank you so much, Blake, for joining us today.
A pleasure. Thank you. And nice to meet everybody.
Yeah, awesome. All right, I'm going to turn your video off and then I'm going to launch this poll very quickly. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. See you, Blake.
Bye.
Bye.